Thank you all for joining in the webcast today. I usually start off with a quick funny story or joke, but we have so much to cover. I better just get started, and I'll try to sprinkle in some epic dad jokes as we go. No promises though. A lot to cover today. All right, so Revit 2022 contains a large number of improvements across 4 key themes. Design productivity, which is discipline-specific authoring tool enhancements for architects, engineers, so civil, MEP, and structures. Then we have interoperability, workflow enhancements between Revit and both Autodesk and third-party tools, coupled with support for open standards and additional file formats for data exchange. Then documentation efficiency, many improvements to schedules, tags, annotations, graphics, and similar features. And then there's a couple slides for additional capabilities offered via Dynamo and the Revit API for the developer tools section. And here's a list of features for design productivity. As you can see, there are a numerous amount of improvements, and of course, there is something for almost every Revit user. I will pause for a moment so you can peruse the list. Maybe something will catch your eye, but like I said, there's something for pretty much everyone here. Okay. Similarly, here are lists of features for interoperability, documentation efficiency, and the developer tools. Again, I'll pause for a second here so you can take a quick look at what we will be covering. Okay. So let's start with design productivity. This is pretty cool. Revit 2022 introduces tapered walls. You can change any wall to a tapered representation by changing its cross-section parameter to tapered. Then you can update the sloping angles using instance overrides or the wall's temporary dimensions. Align wall-hosted components to the sloped interior or exterior faces of the wall. Tapered walls will also display clean joins at corner conditions. And a helpful tip is to modify the sketch boundaries of a slanted wall along its work plane. This gives you greater control over the display of your wall geometry. Revit now supports the new RPC 2.0 file format, which displays complex, high-resolution geometries, physical-based materials and lighting, and more intelligent ways to control the asset parameters. You can experience the improved performance of realistic views with options to switch off all RPCs in the model and or display the orientation in billboard mode towards the camera. Additional features include a simplified representation of RPCs and non-rendered views. There's support for the furniture category in the family editor and an expanded library of rendering assets, including people, transportation, and furniture. So this will allow you to create better photorealistic renderings with these new RPC enhancements. Now, this one is great because it builds upon a really great new feature recently added, but now there are new and updated Autodesk sample study types, including a sample for laying out entourage and laying out objects on a grid. You will have a new option for saving default settings. You can use drop-down nodes as study inputs, specify constant values to be used for all the outcomes of the study, regardless of the generation method selected. You can store study types in multiple folders, including local folders and mapped network drives. You can add more folders to the list using a simple user interface. So the generative design tool is great for making informed design decisions faster, and now new and improved in 22. So this is another one that builds on a recently added feature. In Revit 2022, the People Flow Toolkit technology preview has been incorporated into Revit. 4 new tools are provided under Route Analysis panel on the Analyze tab, so that you can automate, visualize, and analyze the routes within a model to understand the impacts of physical distancing within the context of the design project. This will allow you to generate multiple paths of travel options between a point with the ability to summarize them in a schedule. You can indicate the direction of travel with one-way indicator family. This indicator of the annotation category can be nested within door families if needed. You can place people content to represent occupants with built-in buffers. These buffers are recognized as clearances during route analysis and overlay a spatial grid in rooms to visually aid in distributing elements to meet prescribed physical separation requirements. To control the 4 new tools visibility, you'll go to the Options User Interface Route Analysis tools and just turn off the checkbox if you don't need them, or leave them on just in case. It is on by default for your information there. So basically, if in the past, if you needed to turn off a certain tab on the ribbon, that's where you go, Option User Interface. There's now a checkbox for this tool. But like I said, I usually just leave it on. Okay, in Revit 2022, Revit families created using the generic model family template can be assigned to the bridge and road categories and subcategories. So we're talking abutments, piers, and many more. So even though there might not be a road tool per se, there is now a way to properly categorize these elements. These families can host rebar, can be defined as cuttable in views, can be scheduled and tagged, and so on. Revit 2022 also provides small enhancements to alignment stationing. Prefixes and suffixes may be added to alignment station text. Flip controls have been added to the alignment station label, and the true start and end stations of an alignment are now exposed in the Revit API to help automate bridge design. So these enhancements offer improved capabilities and flexibilities for infrastructure workflows. All right. Revit 2022 has enabled renaming of the default shared site. This reduces confusion when working with shared sites, and it now supports 151 ENU templates. Nice little improvement there. Right. And then the design to fabrication tool is more flexible in this release, enabling mapping of solutions during the conversion process from Revit families to fabrication parts. You can connect fabrication elements together in Canvas by dragging connectors. As with design parts, now the fittings will be placed. So there's more consistency with layout tools such as Quick Connect, Route and Fill, and Trim and Extend. By removing the design line logic and dependency from CAD MEP and EST MEP, this creates better results for off-center taps, eccentric reducers, and transitions. Okay, so configuration reload process has been optimized to reduce the number of elements checked out while work sharing, which results in a reduction of the time to process. And along with this, they've resolved issues known to, on occasion, remove elements when reloading a configuration. So with the new release, this provides more flexibility and reliability in working with fabrication parts. Okay. Now, with this one, Revit Systems Analysis has added a new feature that allows users to get more detailed outputs related to loads and psychrometric reports from within Revit. This new feature lets you view a floor plan, a 3D view, explore results in the new report, and examine the systems analysis schematic all on a single screen. After running a simulation on the systems analysis model, the view summary information for QA/QC checks on multiple unit systems. Reports show a breakdown of load components, totals for sizing equipment, and so on and so forth, even in printable formats, which is nice. So therefore, the workflows for exporting to GBXML have been consolidated into a new dialog box. All right. So now we have new family categories for equipment and billing elements. This builds upon what was already mentioned for infrastructure. There are now new categories, including audio-visual devices, fire protection, food service equipment, hardscape, medical equipment, signage, temporary structures, and vertical circulation. The newly added categories have the same functionality as existing Revit categories. So families assigned to these categories can be defined as cuttable in views. They can be scheduled, tagged, and exported. Users can assign customized generic models to these categories and control their visual display as needed. So this is huge. A lot of times we'd have modeled elements and we just couldn't find the exact correct category for them. So now this will kind of help out with that. We also have expanded category lists for multiple category schedules and material takeoffs. So when creating multi-category schedules, you'll find more categories and subcategories are available in the table. This improvement enhances the ability to schedule system categories. All right, so Revit 22 improves rebar modeling in a big way and detailing for structural engineers and detailers, making it easier for these professionals to move from disconnected CAD workflows into BIM and enabling them to model and detail faster and more accurately. Structural engineers and detailers can now move or remove individual bars in rebar sets or area and path reinforcement systems to avoid clashes with other rebar or openings or other elements while still maintaining the logic of the rebar set or system. So there's no need to split a set into multiple sets or to remove the path and area reinforcement systems. So a lot more flexibility with these complex rebar issues. All right. So multiple sets can also be edited at the same time. So yeah, this new feature significantly improves user efficiency and productivity in modeling accurate reinforcement in cast in place and precast concrete structures. Few slides here on rebar. Detailers can model bars using the real diameters now, including their ribs, helping them to avoid clashes in concrete elements containing many large diameter bars. Rebar constraints, distances to the concrete cover, bar geometry, and segment lengths are now computed using the model bar diameter parameter. So you'll see that instead of the bar diameter, we're now talking model bar diameter. And then you can now place rebars of exact dimensions aligned to any reference in the project with just 2 clicks. This reduces the number of steps needed to create bars accurately and precisely. This feature is huge for rebar modeling, and it's a real game changer for rebar detailers working in Revit. So let's see here. Now, if that wasn't enough, rebar detailers can now assign shape codes to custom bent freeform bars, enabling you to provide better fabrication instructions. For example, you can now distinguish between bars to be bent on site versus the shop. You can manually assign the desired shape code to bars for their local fabrication conventions, or the code of any shape loaded into the project. This new functionality enables you to provide more complete bending instructions, leading to more accurate rebar bending schedules. Okay. So in Revit 2022, settings used during rebar placement are now maintained for the duration of the Revit session. There's no longer a need to reapply rebar settings for each set. Options such as layout, placement, plane, placement orientation, rebar shape, and type keep their values when restarting rebar placement. This is applicable to shape-driven and freeform rebar. Therefore, this new feature improves your productivity just by reducing the time needed to manage the settings. And for, I swear, one final slide on rebar here, an added bonus for the 22 release is found in Revit, which comes with improved performance for rebar in 2D views when zooming, panning, when the regeneration happens. These performance improvements are very noticeable when displaying rebar in any 2D views at the fine level of detail. In testing of problematic 2D views, the regeneration time dropped from minutes to literally 3 or 4 seconds, offering better rebar performance than ever before. Okay, so in Revit 2022, structural engineers can automate the placement of steel connections following custom sizing rules by predefining connection libraries and associating connection types with profile size ranges applicable to them. Now, the first step is for you to create a library of steel connections. And in this library, you can add a variety of connection types and specify ranges where they will be applied. These ranges where they will be applied can be based on your local practices and standards, and they are intended to help you save time when placing simple steel connections. Once you have configured your library, you can open your Revit project and begin using your predefined rules with Dynamo Player. And this will place the steel connections automatically. So single plate connections, shear end plate connections, clip angles, base plates, columns, splices, and many other connections that are typically pre-designed and standardized can be placed faster and more accurately using this approach. In other words, Revit 2022 helps structural engineers place steel connections quickly and accurately using automated tools and predefined ranges of use cases for profile sizes. All right. So new in 22 is a nice category list sorting improvement, now consistent with an alphabetical sorting order for schedule properties and material takeoff properties. I don't think I ran across this issue in the past, but I'm happy to know it will now be easier to find schedule properties that I need. Just a short little slide there. Okay. In Revit 2022, you can use filters to quickly find available parameters when creating schedules and working with project parameters. When you create a schedule, the Fields tab in the Schedule Properties dialog includes a filter section. You can filter the available parameters based on the following criteria: parameter name, parameter type, discipline, value, type, or instance. You can use the parameter name filtering criteria as a search tool. As you type in the parameter name search field, the list is actively filtered. When filtering a schedule, the filter only affects the available fields. Fields selected for the use in the schedule are not affected at all. And you can also use information in the tooltips, which is a nice little add to help identify the correct parameter to work with. The tooltips is going to display the parameter name, the parameter type, the data type, and description if it's provided. So the filtering tool also appears in the project parameters list, or project parameters dialog box, I should say. And I've had a chance to check this one out. So it's pretty nice and very useful for finding the correct parameters you need to build a schedule. So this enhancement enables you to easily filter and identify the types and characteristics of parameters being used in your projects, helping you manage them more accurately and efficiently. All right. The Load Autodesk Family tool opens a dialog that displays default content provided by Autodesk. This content is accessed from a cloud-based repository. In Revit 2022, the Load Autodesk Family tool is no longer designated a technology preview, and it adds navigation elements to help you find families to load into your model. This includes a sequential search facet with back, forward, and home buttons to assist you navigating through the available content. The node you are currently browsing is highlighted to help you understand its location in the organizational structure. The end result being that this feature helps users find the right family content more quickly, definitely improving user productivity. So here are some subtle yet super thoughtful improvements. Settings in all modify tools are now remembered across Revit sessions for mirror, align, offset, scale, rotate, copy, array, and split. So I personally love this because I always had to remember to click the box for multiple every time I used the copy with base point command the first time I used Revit for the day. So like I said, subtle yet super thoughtful and practical. The material browser will now also remember the last used tab, and as an extra added bonus, performance in loading cloud projects on the Revit home screen has been improved by 30 to 40%. Even with small updates like this, when you add them all together, you will surely notice some substantial productivity improvements. In Revit 2022, many dialog boxes that were formerly fixed in size are now resizable, making it easier to work with long lists and names at any resolution. Again, a simple adjustment here, but this will surely alleviate some previous frustration with the old UI. Now, let's talk about the features of interoperability. So I will try my best to curb my unbridled enthusiasm with this one, but I have waited for this feature for so long. And not only do we finally have it, but Autodesk delivered in a big way. So Revit 2022 now includes a native configurable 2D PDF export feature to improve documentation efficiency. Let me say that again. We can now create PDFs natively from Revit. You no longer need a third-party PDF printer. It can all be done with Revit. I finally got a chance to test this out, and I'm super happy about it. The PDF export dialog offers similar options to the print dialog, such as the ability to export the visible portion of a view or a user-defined selection of views and sheets. And this is huge. PDF naming rules may be set up with the export setup section of the dialog. You can use this feature to generate PDF file names automatically based on your project or shared name parameters. For example, if you want to automatically name your sheets with sheet number and then name, you can now easily do this. You can also choose to have the exporter detect output size and orientation automatically from the selected views and sheets. This new Revit native PDF exporter offers that familiar and configurable features and will surely improve documentation efficiency. I don't do too much work with Rhino personally, but I bet this is pretty exciting for a lot of you on the call today. Revit 2022 enables linking of files from McNeil Rhinoceros. Changes to the Rhino file are immediately updated in Revit by reloading the link or reopening the project. Post and link your conceptual Rhino file in Autodesk Docs and ensure all stakeholders have access to the latest and greatest design information. So it goes without saying that linking Rhino files directly into Revit will definitely accelerate project documentation for these users. Okay. Let's see, and hopefully we have some format users out there. If not, now might be a good time to adopt some format workflows because with Revit 2022, it introduces expanded functionalities that better integrate Revit with Format Pro. You can translate Revit elements seamlessly into Format Pro sessions using the new 3D sketch functionality. You can continue exploring and tweaking your design using the fluid, intuitive modeling capabilities of Format. and then send format geometry directly into Revit. The format materials are preserved seamlessly as Revit materials using the visibility and graphics control of the display of the format layers. So this new feature will definitely improve some conceptual design workflows. And then there's another option, the Format Converter plugin has been superseded with the new built-in high performance functionality. It will allow the import of AXM files with preserved materials, layers, and group definitions. The materials properties from Format are transferred to Revit and grouped under a new filter category in the material library. Format layers are preserved and controlled via the visibility and graphics. If levels are present in the format model, they will translate as Revit levels. All right. And then Revit now has achieved IFC4 reference view certification for architecture and structure exports. IFC property set definitions and the associated Revit shared parameter definitions have been updated with the latest IFC4 PSDs of version 4.0.2.2, partial update from the scope of 1.2 MVD. So this significantly improved the performance of linking in some IFC files containing elements with many parameters. It also added the ability for IFC exporter to pick up information from site location regarding the geo-coordinate reference in EPSG code format as required by IFC. And this is pretty cool news. With Revit 2022, Autodesk is the first software vendor to support IFC4 exports for both architecture and structure. So I thought it was kind of cool. All right, so with 22, you can maintain links between Revit and Inventor data for seamless BIM and MCAD interoperability. You can link Revit models exported from Inventor. Inventor incorporates the new simplify command to produce an RVT model containing only the components and features needed for the Revit design. The Revit export and simplify command have been combined in Inventor and added to the property panel for a complete set of options in one easy-to-use interface. You can link the resulting RVT files into Revit projects. Then, if you need to go the other way and link Revit into Inventor, the Inventor user references the Revit project in order to keep the building design intent model synchronized with the manufacturing data. This allows, for example, the mechanical engineering tasks to be performed in the context of the building model. And then when the manufacturing models are positioned and sized correctly, exporting the design as a native Revit will strengthen the project coordination and review. So definitely make sure to take advantage of improved interoperability between Revit 22 and Inventor 2022. All right, like many of the Autodesk products, Revit 21 introduced the shared views feature for 3D views. In Revit 2022, this feature has been enhanced to include 2D views in sheets. This means you now have the ability to share 2D and 3D views in sheets of your Revit model with project stakeholders who do not have access to the software. From the Collaborate tab on the ribbon, select Shared Views to launch the Shared Views palette. When you are ready to share your current sheet, press the new Shared View button, name your view, and press the Share button. You may then share the link with project stakeholders they will have the ability to view, review, comment, and mark up the shared 2D sheet using the Autodesk viewer with a web browser. And then back in Revit, you can click the refresh button in the shared views palette at any time to view the latest comments and other information. Open Cloud Model from the File menu in Revit 2022. When you navigate to File Open, you can find a Cloud Model button to open a Revit Cloud Model, which provides another way to access your cloud-based models in addition to the home page. And then Unified Cloud Model Initiate UI. Okay, yeah, so for this one, there's saving a Revit project as a cloud model and initiating a cloud work sharing collaboration will display a similar UI, which just gives a better user experience on that one. And then for access to Autodesk Docs on the homepage, the button BIM 360 available in previous Revit releases has been replaced with a button for Autodesk Docs to access projects stored in the United platform. So nothing super new here, just updated buttons to jive with the new branding. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, great. Okay, so this is a great section here. We're now going to jump into the documentation efficiency enhancements. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. All right. So Revit 2022 enables work sets to be scheduled. You can now add a work set parameter when creating a schedule in a work shared model. The work set parameter is also available when creating material takeoffs, view lists, sheet lists, and title blocks. This feature enables you to filter and format schedules and lists based on work sets. Revit 2022 includes this and many other enhancements to improve your productivity when generating schedules. All right, so this one's cool too. In 22, shared instance parameters associated with categories now appear as available fields when creating a key schedule for that category. The key schedule filters compatible parameters that may be included. You can also add shared parameters to the category when you create a key schedule. So the use of shared parameters in key schedules makes it possible for a key schedule to literally drive geometry or control visibility in families. When a key is applied to an element, properties assigned by that key become read-only in the properties palette, and Revit indicates the status along with the tooltip for each parameter in the key schedule. Parameter values derived from the key value display an equal or EQ symbol to the right of the value. Use shared parameters and families and then include the shared parameter in the key schedule to control the family geometry. So this new feature will help you save time and avoid errors in entering data into your projects through the key schedule. And you can now, oh yeah, this one's really great. You can now filter by the family and type parameter in a schedule and material takeoffs. So you could essentially just have one schedule dedicated to a single family and type if needed. This is going to improve family filtering in single or multi-category schedules. Here's another cool enhancement to schedules. So when working with a super long schedule, it's helpful to split the schedule into segments. Prior to this release, these segments were not able to be placed on separate sheets. But with Revit 2022, it introduces this split and place functionality for schedules, enabling users to split schedules and specify destination sheets for each of their segments. Using this tool, the schedule may either be split into equal segments across the selected sheets, or even broken into a user-defined height, which I thought that was pretty neat. So these enhancements give you better control over the filtering and display of schedules in your Revit projects, helping you work more productively and efficiently. In addition to the existing ability to export to TXT, Revit now supports the ability to export schedules as a Dot Csv. If you add a schedule to a sheet, you can export it as CAD as always, and now CSV format. When exporting a schedule, you can send schedule data to a delimited text file spreadsheet programs such as Excel, or open and manipulate as needed in that program. All right, in Revit 2022, you can control the display of properties when multiple elements having different parameter values for those properties are selected. And not only selected, so we're talking in schedules and tags also. So whereas before, in past releases, if a parameter value for those properties shared by whatever you had selected was the same, no value was reported or the line item disappeared. However, now when multiple elements are selected, those parameter values differ. They'll report with a varies designation. And you can actually do a user-defined setting here if you want to. So this feature is going to reduce confusion and improves the productivity by enabling you to quickly identify varying parameter values for whatever you have selected. All right, now here's a really nice one too. When you rotate a tag in Revit, you might like to control the angle very precisely. A new angle parameter for tags found in the Properties palette makes it easier to control the display angle of a rotated tag. If you rotate the tag with the rotate command, the angle value is automatically calculated, but you can enter a specific value afterwards if you'd like, or even before. This feature is easy to apply to tags in your views, giving you better control over your project documentation. Now, multi-leader tags. This is kind of awesome. If a view in your project contains similar elements, you may prefer that they share a tag. In 22, you may now apply a single tag to multiple elements and even indicate the total quantity if desired. Once a tag has been placed in the model, you can add or remove leaders to similar host elements at any time by selecting the tag and using the Add Remove Host option on the contextual tab of the ribbon. When you do this, the quantity of host elements is automatically tracked and displayed both in the tag itself and in the Properties palette. You can also have access to specific snap points to modify the leader lines according to your preferences. And then we can now tag curtain wall mullions, which is pretty cool. So a new category has been added for this. And you may choose to load the tag for curtain wall mullions provided or create your own. Let's see what else we have here. I don't know if you've had a chance to use the multi-category tags in Revit, but you can use this to reduce the number of tag families in your project and to associate other elements from different categories with each other. This feature is especially useful when several categories share the same tag graphics or when shared parameters are utilized across several categories. In Revit 22, this feature has been extended to support all existing taggable categories. But I guess before it was limited to a few, and now it's including subcategories for stairs and structural connections, structural internal load categories, analytical categories, and much more. All right. Revit 2022 improves the behavior of tags in host models that reference elements in linked models. Tags in a host model that are attached to elements in a linked model will now remember the linked element ID. If a linked file is unloaded or out of date, the tag may be orphaned. However, when the linked file is reloaded, the tag will now reattach to the linked element automatically. All right. When you need a custom dimension containing a prefix or a suffix, you can now include a definition for the prefix and the suffix in the dimension family type. Previously, you could only add a prefix and suffix value to individual instances of a dimension. Adding them to the type saves time. The prefix and suffix defined in the type is automatically added when each dimension is placed. You can now create custom revision numbering sequences in your project to support multiple deliverable packages. So, hey, I don't want to gloss over this one because this one's pretty huge. I get a lot of questions from people trying to get the revision schedule to read the way they want. And I think with these new improvements, you'll be able to do it. You can now specify the minimum number of digits to maintain a standardized length or other local or regional standards. Use a custom prefix or suffix to denote a project stage or phase. Customize the sequence of characters to meet your project needs. Then you can share the revision numbering sequences to other projects using the transfer project standards. So again, big improvement here. Good stuff with that. Now, I'm also glad to see they fixed this little glitch is you can now add spot slope labels and spot elevation markers on a ramp, run, and plan elevation section in 3D views. If you are not upgrading anytime soon, you can always add a slope label to the railing, which works, but obviously this is much better. And in past releases, it was time consuming to hide the non-core layers of walls and plan views. Revit 2022 introduces a parameter to help you display only the wall core layers quickly and easily. In the visibility and graphics dialog box, deselect the new non-core layers option available under the walls category to display a simplified representation of walls in 2D views. It's pretty cool. I actually had somebody looking for this functionality just a few months ago, so I'm excited to see this. Wall layers located between the core boundaries of the wall assembly will remain visible. All right. So here's another one that's pretty neat. You can now choose to display grid lines in your 3D views. In the properties box, go to the show grids parameter, and you can access a list of levels for your project and select the levels for which you want the grid lines to display. And that's just where the grid line bubbles will display. Because whenever you hover over a grid, its plane will highlight as a blue planar vertical surface throughout the entire vertical constraints of that grid. And if you select the grid, and the canvas controls will appear, and its properties will display in the properties palette. In a 3D view, you can treat grids in many of the same ways as in a 2D view. You can hide grids by element, category, or filter, or by using the visibility and graphics override dialog box. You can display grids at halftone. You can copy, cut, and paste or delete grids from the model. You can snap the grids when placing other elements. You can change grid, instance, and type properties. If you want to hide part of your model, you can create a 3D section box. As you can see, the grid lines do not extend beyond the bounding box, making it easier to navigate this portion of your model. Small caveat here, I tested it and the bubbles will be outside of the section box, which I think is a good thing. So nice little enhancement there. Now, one of the most efficient ways in Revit to control the visibility and color of elements is to use view filters. Revit 2022 introduces new filter rules for phase created and phase demolished to help you manage the display of phases in your project. This makes it easier to visually locate elements and understand their phases in your model. A new default pastel color scheme has been added. Previously, the default color scheme used darker, bolder colors, which could obscure other elements in the view. So this scheme has been updated to use a lighter pastel colors to alleviate this issue. In the visibility and graphics dialog, filters now support selection, modification, and removal of one or more filters in the list at one time. So multiple subsequent filters can also be moved up or down the list together to adjust overall priority. In Revit 2022, you are able to preserve callouts when deleting parent views. The callout view is able to be switched between the parent view and all intersecting views. The callout views can be hidden by the hide scales coarser than setting from the properties palette. Setting the parent view to none will make the callout independent for the parent view. Callouts without a parent view are visible in subsequent intersecting views. Dependent callout views are preserved when the parent view is deleted. You are then asked if you would like to make callout views independent or just delete the callout view. So pretty nice feature there. More categories can now show an annotation symbol using the maintain annotation orientation family parameter. So with this improvement, maintain annotation orientation has been added to the following categories. We've got electrical equipment, generic models, lighting fixtures, mechanical equipment, plumbing fixtures, and specialty. All right, so Revit 2022 includes improvements to many key aspects of MEP documentation. There has been an improvement to tags and rise and drop symbols. Previously, tags on vertical pipes and plan view were not reporting the system names and abbreviations, and the rise symbol did not appear in a single line for certain situations, and now they report as expected. We've got improved behavior for shared nested families. Previously, nested families would not show annotation symbols and is now resolved. We've now got improved behavior for pinned elements. Previously, the connector could be dragged while pinned. Now, pinned elements cannot be moved. And let's see here. This is a good one. So we've now got an auto shading option in 2-column panel schedules. This feature adapts to the phases being used. Unused phases will automatically display in gray on the panel schedule. This reduces the number of panel schedule templates required for a project, simplifying your project setup and management. The number of rows exceeding the maximum number of breakers are also automatically shaded. This new feature in Revit 2022 helps simplify your panel schedule template setup and management on your electrical projects. And finally, we've just got a couple more slides to go here. So let's cover features that will most appeal to the software coders and programmers. In case we have some Dynamo users here today, in Revit 2022, there are 67 new Dynamo Revit nodes added to support the most commonly requested conditions for annotations, sheets, views, for automating documentation tasks for high efficiency. And then for developers working with the API, you can control the two-dimensional label offset from left bottom corner of the viewport to the left end of the viewport label line. You can now read and modify sketches from Revit, and a new Revit API has been created to access the color fill feature. So this provides you with access to the color fill scheme and its entities, along with the same access to color fill legend and color fill schemes on a project. All right, so that was quite a marathon run here. Let's see what else we got here. So to recap, I think Autodesk did a great job with this release. They really addressed a lot of perennial wish list fixes, features, and really many forward-thinking additions. And I know we really went through a lot of material today, so thank you very much for your time and attention. And with that, let me, I think we do, I would have liked
a couple of questions, Dan.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I've answered them, except for one of them has a question about the PDF print option. I know that is available to a degree in Revit LT. I'm not sure if it's all the same functions. So do you know what of those PDF print options that are new in 2022 in Revit, how much of that is available in Revit LT?
You know what, I have not even installed 22 LT, but so I can't check that for you. But my guess is if the export to PDF feature is there, it's probably the same. I can't imagine that there would be anything different from that, but I can't say for sure.
Okay. The only other question I answered, but somebody is asking what format it was.
Oh,
so I
okay.
thought maybe other people might be interested also, so I thought I'd mention it to you.
Yeah, great stuff. So basically, format was created not as like a replacement for people who prefer to use more of like a SketchUp workflow, but like a stepping stone. It's a very SketchUp related product, but it's owned by Autodesk. So you could take a SketchUp model, bring it into format, and then go into Revit, or if you enjoy the modeling environment of format, just use that. All right.
There's one new question that I'll let you read and see if you have an answer for it.
Are we looking for food service category? You know what? I'm not sure if they added a whole bunch. I'm not sure if they added that one specifically. I would have to double check on that. But since we're running short on time, I'd be happy to double check and get back to you on that one. All right. Okay, yeah, so I think that's about it. I guess thanks a lot, Rick and Ashley. We're ready to hand it back over to you.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation and thank you all for attending. Just a reminder, there will be a short survey that will pop up and you can plug your AIA number there if you want. And also a reminder that you will receive an email tomorrow with a recording, with a link to the recording of today's presentation. And I think we'll wrap up for today. Have a great day, everyone.